Hello everyone, Seraphin here, welcome back for more Castlevania, Aria of Sorrow. We are just kind of plowing through the castle corridor and getting hit by axe armors, because that's how you do this game, at any rate. When I last left you guys, we were just still kind of trucking along. Not much in the way of story plot to happen yet. You'll see us absorb another bat soul, that's number 2. Having more than one of the same is largely inconsequential at the moment. Fun fact, you can hit those axes to break them mid-flight. I believe I did that once already on accident, but it's not all that effective when you're standing right next to the guy because you don't have any room to do it. That's okay. So I'm kind of getting my butt kicked here a little bit right now because I'm not dodging attacks as much as I should be. Fortunately, I have a lot of health, so that would not fly, however, in the classic Castlevania games. Getting hit just once in those is bad. They focus a lot more on dodging attacks and just making you better at the game because, well, back then, games were difficult for the sake of being difficult because, well, they wanted them to last longer. Games were not all that easy to produce, and were costly and difficult, and rather than just make more content, developers are like, let's just make it stupid hard, so people need to try really hard to beat it, and that'll make it last longer, and they'll get their money's worth. I don't have anything wrong with that, that's how I grew up, so... I grew up playing the original Mario Brothers and Mega Man and that kind of stuff, so I know about games being difficult. I'm not exactly in my prime any longer with regards to being good at games. I still play a lot of games, but I'm not particularly skillful in a lot of the ones that require it. There are a couple of exceptions to that. For example, I've played Metroid enough to death that I can get all the tanks without much effort, as you guys probably saw already, if you watched that series. Apologies if this is kind of dating myself here with the talking about previous releases. I mean, if you're watching this for the first time and you jump right into Castlevania, hey, there's the zombie soul. That's exactly what I wanted. So you become stronger when poisoned. You're not immune to poison as the zombie, but you get stronger when you are poisoned as opposed to being weaker when you're poisoned. So it has the opposite effect. That's arguably better if you ask me. I don't believe poisoning actually drains your health in this game, too. Don't quote me on that, but I don't get poisoned very often. That being said, you know, it's my only yellow soul. Might as well equip it, right? So that way if I get poisoned, I'll increase my strength. As I was saying, I apologize if this is the first series you're tuning into on my channel and you haven't watched Metroid, and you're just like, wait, what he's talking about Metroid stuff. Chronologically, this came out after that. I'll try to stop making references to other stuff, just because, well, you didn't come here for that. You came here to watch this, not something else that I watched. Unless you watch that too, that's fine. I will not discourage you from watching other shows of mine. That being said, I'm not going to make it a requirement that you be on the up and up of all of my content, because that would just be stupid. And largely impractical. I know I only have so much time in the day to watch things, and I'm sure you guys all do too. There is a sword there, hidden in a little crevice, but I can't get to it because I am not that small. And there is a way around that I will get later on, but for the time being, I'm not able to access said sword. So moving on to the save room. I'm gonna get all my health back, which I desperately need. And then I will jump down. Don't want to jump down into this area right away. Yeah, I think I don't have a choice. Alright, here we go. Oh, I can climb back up if I need to, I suppose, but at any rate. What's in here? I don't remember. I've played this game a few times. I always end up forgetting things every time I play through, simply because my memory's terrible. Oh, that's lovely. So that zombie soldier dropped a plot of rotten meat. Delightful. Eating rotten meat in this game will immediately reduce your health down to 1. You would think, why in the world would you want to eat that? Well, there actually is a purpose for that, if you can believe that. There is a certain soul you get very, very late in the game, in fact, right toward the end of the game. However, if you have said soul equipped and only have 1 hit point, it, like, multiplies your attack power by a factor of, like, 5 or something. It's absolutely absurd. It makes you a killing machine, but if you get hit even once, well, then it was all kind of a wasted effort, wasn't it? So, I tend not to use that particular set of souls. I don't like playing risky like that. I'd rather just equip good weapons and good armor and, you know, do the best that I can. I'm sure speedrunners prefer it for that purpose. However, because the soul doesn't come to you until very, very late, I don't imagine that would be all that useful, really. Because you don't get it until late in the game anyway. That being said, after beating this game, there is a boss rush mode you can do, where you just go through and beat every boss in the game in quick succession. And if you do it quickly enough, it actually gives you rewards. So I imagine it would be useful for that purpose. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you guys saw when I walked in. There's a dude wearing a white suit right in front of something that's almost the same color as he is. So there is a gentleman there standing a little bit in front of me. I don't know if you can see him now. You probably can now that I'm pointing it out. But this gentleman, he is human. Yeah, apparently. His name is Graham. Graham Jones, as a matter of fact. He's a missionary, or so he says. Not sure what a dude like him in a nice suit is walking around in a Dracula's castle for. Oh yes, this is most definitely Dracula's castle. In theory, yes, but his true castle exists elsewhere. So this is a little bit different than I think the normal lore of this game states. So if you're familiar with Castlevania at all, and I imagine some of you probably are if you're watching this, Dracula's castle basically, in this franchise, has the ability to kind of move wherever it wants. That's certainly true if you've seen the anime, the Netflix anime, which, by the way, is incredible, and Season 2 is out, and it's amazing. Go watch that if you haven't already. That being said, Dracula's castle can kind of go wherever the heck it wants. Yes, and Dracula has resurrected multiple times. In fact, he resurrects once per century, I believe, is the going rate. So this is actually chronologically, I'm just realizing, chronologically in the game's timeline, this is the last one in the series. In terms of just time progression. Well, actually, it's the second to last, because there's a direct sequel to this one called Dawn of Sorrow. At any rate, so this is the year 2035, as the intro said, and Dracula perished for good in 1999. That was Julius Belmont that finally killed him once and for all. And the way that they did that was by sealing his castle in the eclipse. And they're going to explain that later on in the game, and not too much later, actually. But I'm sorry if you think that's a spoiler. I really don't think that it is, because we're dealing with a point in time after that anyway. So vampire hunters destroyed him completely and ended his regeneration cycle by sealing his castle in the eclipse. Okay, literally he said it just there, so there you go. It's not a spoiler. He was going to say it in 2 seconds anyway. So that's how we ended Dracula's resurrection cycle. Or not we, but vampire hunters, specifically one vampire in particular. We'll learn more about him later on, probably. There is more to the story, however. In the year 2035, a new master will come to the castle, and he will inherit all of Dracula's powers. Oh, good! Why, yes, that is right now. Yeah, be careful, considering you're an unarmed, by all accounts, missionary in an incredibly dangerous demon monster-filled castle. I don't think they bothered to explain how Graham makes it around in here without getting killed. It's kind of a wonder, if you ask me. Maybe he's some kind of master swordsman or something, who knows. At any rate, we move on to the chapel. And in said chapel are angry spirits. I love angry spirits, particularly because they can move through the floors and walls and just come at you from any angle they desire. It's only moderately annoying, you guys, I promise. They're not that threatening. They die in one hit, as you can see, but the fact that they pop out of anywhere is kind of obnoxious. So the chapel music is a little bit tedious. I apologize if it's going to drive you guys nuts. I don't like the chapel all that much, at least not playing through it, so I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can here. That being said, there's a lot of goodies to pick up in... What the heck? There's a lot of goodies to pick up in the chapel area, so I'm going to make sure that I get as many of those as I can. So I'm on the right side of the chapel to do that. Here we have bone pillars. These are, I think, a staple of the series as well, in that they are just these skeletal heads that stack up on top of one another, and they breathe fire, and they're a little nasty. Fun fact, I actually can stand on top of these things and use them as like a platform, and they won't hurt me. So if you see a bunch of them stacked up, like 4 or 5 tall, it's usually for a reason. It's usually so you can stand on top of them to get somewhere that you otherwise couldn't. But just 2 tall like that, really not that big of a deal, I don't think. We see a big bell here, because we're in the bell tower, imagine that. I do think it's cool that when I stand on the bells, they actually chime. I always thought that was a neat little detail. It's like, wow, this is really, like, realistic and cool, me playing this back in, like, 2006 when I was a much younger person. Let's take out more of these, and you'll see there's, I'll just stand on top of these bone pillars, and I can do that all day, and they don't bug me. That being said, I need to get through them here, and that's the wrong way to do it, so let's go down this way. I'm just going to whip some... Oh, I whipped some spears at them from a distance. You can see that drained most of my MP, but I did it without getting hit, so that's the important thing. More axe armors. You know, I'd love it if you gave me your soul, dude. Not something I say on a regular basis. I don't think I can reach either of these potions up here. That is a high potion, the blue one, and a high mind up. So there's stronger versions of the potions and mind ups, but I can't quite get them just yet. Even with the flying armor. Speaking of the flying armor, I think I can drop down here, yep. And then more bells to stand on. I'll be a little careful here. And descend at a slower rate. There we go. Silly axe armors. Was there any point to me doing that? Not overly, I don't think. Yeah, I needed to jump over the other side of that thing, not in front of it, so... Let me go right back around here real quick. Sorry about that. Oh, and I fall even further. Well, never said I was spectacular at this game. There is a Castlevania game that I like more than this one, but I'm even worse at that one. So, I'm sure if you're familiar at all with Castlevania, you're familiar with Symphony of the Night. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people's favorite. It is my favorite. Only because, well... The music in that game is just phenomenal by all accounts. And you get to play as a really cool character. Here we get a bamboo sword. This thing is... It's weaker than what I'm currently carrying, and I think it actually is incredibly slow also, so I will not be making use of that. At least not at the moment. I'm gonna knock some more of these bone pillars down. They also have a very fun soul, so I would love it if I got that from knocking these towers down. Nice. Yeah, pat myself in the back there a little bit from dodging that fireball. You would be too. Those things are nasty. At any rate, I'm not getting all the fun souls just yet. I'm getting a lot of them, but none of the fun ones, like the axe armor or the what do you call it? The zombie soldier. Zombie soldier is cool because it lets you drop grenades. Here we have a giant ghost, who is a lot less threatening than he looks. And our little friend, the tiny devil, makes a reappearance, as you can see floating around up top there. Let's jump up here. They also could fly through the floors and ceilings, as it seems. That little sonic wave attack that he just did, that's the ability you get if you get their soul, which is kind of neat. Here we have these terrifying-looking things. They are called Durgas. Yep. I don't know what a Durga is. Although, to be completely honest with you, I haven't really done a lot of research on the subject. I'm sure there's some kind of mythological creature, some monster of lore, or something to that effect, but I don't really know what they are. They appear to be women with swords for hands, or swords for arms, I should say, and they have 4 of them. Ooh, a rapier. Is that better than my short sword? It is. A sword made for stabbing. You'll see that instead of just swinging it straight out, I kind of do it in a little bit of an upward arc. Or downward arc, I should say. It's a little slower on the draw than my short sword, but it does a bit more damage. So now I can kill these guys in about 4 or 5 hits, as opposed to like 6 or 7 that I was doing a minute ago. More axe armor. Give me your soul. And I can kill them in 3 hits. I'd say it's worth the trade-off. The Durgas actually drop a really nice item, but they didn't give it to me now. That is okay. I don't need it, per se. There's some more money here. You may be wondering what the heck the money's all for. Well, you'll see shortly. Actually, it's a little while from now yet, but money does have a purpose, and it is for something that you desperately need, so... I'm going to drop into the save room here real quick. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break right now because we're at the time. So, anyway, I appreciate you all sticking with me this far. We're about midway through the chapel. I've got another boss coming up, but we're going to do that in the next episode. So until that time, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the series so far, and I will see you in the next episode. But until that time, this has been Seraphin. Stay classy, internets.